Hello, it's Therapy Thursday, and the topic I was chosen to talk about today is social media from the Snowman. If I think that's his name, I don't actually remember, but that guy in the comments, he knows, or girl in the comments, he knows, or they know. My bad. I'm going to talk about exactly how it's used in goddamn high school. Exactly, well, social media I actually don't think is a major fault for everything in high school career, but it definitely does play something to how high schoolers affect their lives. Um, First thing I'm going to mention though before I even start ranting is that I am not a professional. Anyone older than me, they probably know better than me, so that's fine. They can, you know, they'll know which advice is wrong and which one isn't, because I'm a young 17-year-old guy, and anyone younger than me, they could genuinely listen to my advice, but I'm not a professional. If you actually do want to know something, probably watch an actual podcast of some therapist talking about how social media has actually affected high schoolers. But for me, I am just some random 17-year-old out of the millions that is out there. And I'm going to be talking about how social media affects high schoolers. The first thing, though, that I actually want to mention is that in high school, we kind of tie everything to pressure that we don't actually have. I say tied, but it's more like we just put it onto ourselves. It's not like we're tying it, it's just something that we have naturally brought. And I think social media actually does play a big factor into this. Now, obviously, this is kind of obvious, but I'm going to give a slightly different point of view for it. Social media, one thing it actually does do that a lot of that nothing else really does is show you numbers. And we love goddamn numbers nowadays because everything is tied to numbers. We create a lot of unnecessary pressure for ourselves, a lot of high expectations. And if you don't have high expectations for yourself and instead you're on more the lazy end, I'll explain that later on in the video. But the thing is that we tie ourselves to numbers. Numbers is a horrible way to tie yourself to, by the way, but the thing is that I'm a victim of it, and every high schooler probably in their whole entire lives has been a victim of it. We create this heavy pressure of wanting maybe good grades, maybe getting good awards, maybe getting paid a lot from part-time jobs, maybe or anything that has to do with life that you genuinely want to do. And we tie a lot of it to numbers. Now, not everything is tied to numbers, of course. Personality or some other things, but I mean, you could tie personality to numbers, like, oh, I have a good, fun personality by how many friends I have, or how popular I am, which is a problem that we all have. Thing is that for some reason, is that in high school, we can't stop boasting about our numbers as well. So I'm going to just give an example. For example, my best example is the Film Awards. It's my major in high school, and everyone wants to get first place. Now, obviously, depending on which award that you've been selected for, getting first place is obviously prestigious. And whenever you don't get that, you don't feel like sometimes you'll feel like a failure, or maybe sometimes you'll be like, I could have tried harder. And it kind of creates this unnecessary pressure. I think what also is really bad is that we also tie grades to numbers. We tie everything to these number values. What about instead of talking about that stuff like part-time jobs? I make more money than you, so I'm gonna talk about it. Oh, hey, I make $15 an hour, which is a lot more than that. Actually, I don't know how much other states make, but I'm pretty sure that's kind of decently high for Nevada. And that's pretty big boasting. There's no need to say it, and honestly, good for them, you know? But at the same time, it does kind of make you think that everything we do is tied to numbers and we keep wanting to talk about it. And because other people are wanting to do it, you want to do it as well. I don't tie anything to numbers, except actually I do tie a couple things to numbers and I will keep flexing on it, which is absolutely unnecessary and I can work on that myself. So I'm a victim of everything. We also don't follow through to any of our advice that has to do with this high expectations. For example, let's say one of your friends failed a test, or maybe they failed something else. They broke up with someone in a relationship. I don't know. And you mention how it's okay. There's many more later on in life. But the thing is that when you are actually in that spot, you don't want to listen to their advice either. And guess what? You also know that for some reason you are crying your eyes out, or maybe you are bawling your eyes out, or instead scrolling or wasting your time doing other stuff to relieve this emotion, but you can't follow your own advice, which is there's much more in life. And I will tell you, there's been times where I make a really bad film for the quarter, and I cannot believe I've done that while everyone else has made something so much better, and I start playing a ton of video games and start wasting my time. Instead, I should probably just be working on the next film, but I don't. And that's definitely a problem that a lot of people actually go through in life, and not just high school, but I think social media has made it so that now it's numbers based and instead of actual feelings and emotions. Of course, I guess breaking up is actually just an emotion, it's not really tied to numbers, but you get my point. Now, the lazy part is something completely different. It's a completely different side of how high schoolers are affected by it. Because, you see, lazy people, or how I define lazy, is just you procrastinate things when you actually should be getting things done. I procrastinate. I'm a lazy person. I can admit it. The thing is that it's hard to admit. I'm not going to lie. Because sometimes there's things where you don't want to be called a bad tact. Because guess what? I've gotten a lot of compliments that I'm a hardworking person. And unfortunately, like an analytic person, because I get a lot of compliments, I want to receive more of those. And because more people are talking about it, it's something that I actually hold to myself. Am I actually a hardworking person? I will admit it, I'm not. But because other people keep mentioning that, I will keep saying that I'm a hardworking person, even though I should admit that I'm not a hardworking person. These are all flaws that we have, and I really do think social media is the problem, because you see a ton of big influencers that have their big numbers, they have these huge numbers, you see them successful, you see other people, you see other high schoolers doing good things, they post on their stories, they post on whatever, I don't know what, I use Instagram, but I don't know how many other high schoolers are using other websites or apps. But there's so many problems with how we tie everything to numbers that I myself can't get out of it. I think social media has made it a lot easier for us to be prone to procrastination, and kind of ruins your whole life when you think about it. Because another thing that a lot of people say with high school that social media might have enhanced, it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, that high school is the best part of your life, or it's one of the best times of your life. And when I'm getting older, I'm 17 now, I'm a senior. Yeah, I can see it. The past 2 years has been an actual genuine blast. Actually, so fun. I don't really regret. Maybe one regret at most in all of my high school career. There was a lot of mental struggles and problems, but yet, you know what? That's fun. That's part of it. And social media has created this thing where, we don't want to be lazy technically, but at the same time, we put all the pressure on ourselves where sometimes being lazy is the good thing. I don't want to be stressed all the time. So let me scroll, let me do all these other things. And I don't think that anyone should stop doing that. But I do think that people should be taking more steps. Because, not everyone is capable of change immediately. I'm not capable of change immediately. I think my flaws will take years, if not decades, for me to finish, or not finish, but for me to clear up and paint it away. But creating this unnecessary pressure for myself, or anyone really, had caused us to be more lazy, and social media does definitely do that. I don't know how many people when they were younger always said that high school was the best part of their life. Definitely something probably millennials created, or maybe Gen X, but their generation had a blast in high school. And for us, we also have a blast in high school, but now we just have a lot more pressure on ourselves. I think the past generations are actually really done great things for us. My generation, I know my generation will do great things, but there is a lot of flaws that we have. I don't know the flaws of millennials or Gen X or any of the previous ones, but our flaws, at least in my opinion, seem pretty detrimental for us. And social media is definitely the problem, one of the problems of it. That's all I really have to say. I genuinely don't know what else. I'm just saying the same things over and over again. One point that I forgot to include in that video is that I wanted to talk about how we kind of judge ourselves so critically that it's kind of insane. Imagine everyone puts themselves in this spot where they are thinking about how everyone is putting them into their spots, and they're thinking about exactly how they are the problem, and when they do something good, guess what happens? It's never theirs. It's never their own thing that did good. It's other people complimenting or other sources that is the reason why you feel good, you know? And they're not validating enough of their own wins that they are doing, and instead they are just exaggerating on all the losses that they have. And it's crazy because yet for other people, when we look at other people, when we see other people have a problem, like let's say one of your friends, it's never their fault. It's always some other problem. When you look at your friend and they do something successful, it's when they did something for themselves to do something successful. But from when I do it, it's not, I don't feel like I'm doing something successful. I feel like it's just when other people validate me. And it's my fault when something goes wrong. Why do we put this heavy pressure on ourselves? I'm not actually too sure if it's social media. If you do want to learn way more about this, I suggest watching Dr. K. He is opened my mind about all this therapy stuff. And also Euro Brady, that guy's also the GOAT. He plays video games as he does therapeutic talks. Those two guys genuinely opened my mind of all this stuff. Jack Pickett, good guy. That guy's also a good guy. Shout out to all those big people. They earn their all their props. They earned everything for all they've done. They've worked hard. They do it all. So, another thing I actually want to mention before this video ends, camera work, that people genuinely should get some more compliments, like complimenting other people. I think it's kind of sad that we have kind of just received that compliments aren't normal and they only you only kind of deserve them when you deserve the props, but you should be complimenting on more tiny stuff, because I genuinely feel like that more people don't get enough. I feel like I don't get enough, but at the same time we've gotten so used to not getting any that we're like, it doesn't really matter too much, it doesn't affect our lives too much, but at the same time I do think it would genuinely help all of us out, you know? Let's see, what would this video actually say? Because I have watched these weird the beauty videos. More people need to be told they're doing a genuinely, yeah, more people do need to be told that they're doing a good job. And especially with high schoolers, maybe not with everything in adult life, because maybe not everything in adult life, is meant to be a good thing. But in high school, you're meant to be chill and relax. And more people need to be told they're doing great, and they'll be doing fine. That's my therapy talk for Thursday. And if there's any other topics you guys want me to mention about, any other important topics, that's the one that I will talk about, because that's what social media has affected my life. Now, it probably affected other people in hundreds of other ways. Actually, hundreds. But for me, that's the major one that it affected with. There's not that many more. There's many more I can't see, and anyone else, any other high schooler, they can talk about it. They got it. They know more experience than I do in those subjects. I only know my experience in my subject, so they can do that. That's all I have to say today. Hopefully this video was interesting, and anyone in the comments wants me to talk about any of this new subject for therapy Thursday, I got you. Okay, bye bye. I'll see y'all another day, next Thursday.